Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the FX Market Insight for Monday, the 13th of January. All right, now just having a look at the major currency pairs. There's really there's only one little change, I should say. I was going to say there's none, but there is one slight change here. Aussie sort of drifted into a bit of a neutral sort of phase, and that comes on the back of weaker US non-farm payrolls. But one of the major things, if you look across all the major currency pairs, there's been no significant change in the overall sentiment or the technical trend. Okay, this is despite really weak US numbers. If I just scroll back up here, have a look at the payroll numbers. Now, what you've got is you've got the weak payrolls. The unemployment rate is the same. If I just scroll down just a touch, you'll see that the average earnings, which has been a key thing that the Fed has been looking at, is weaker, right? So weaker change, payroll change, weaker earnings. You think the dollar would be significantly lower, but it's not. And you know what? This is where that US-Iran issue comes back into play. A geopolitical event really nullifying the follow through from the fundamentals. All right. Of course, you got Trump's impeachment there as well, but that's what we're sort of confronted with at the start of the week. Now, one of the other things is if you look at those US numbers, and then actually you back them up against the Canadian numbers, an improvement in the rate, unemployment rate, higher unemployment change. And, what have we got? You'd think weak US numbers, strong Canadian numbers, dollar CAD would be significantly lower. Well, I tell you what, it's not. And that's another thing that you need to be sort of aware of. That's not very normal. I mean, you can sort of see a bit of a move down here in dollar CAD, but pretty much came back to where it was and just sitting exactly at the sort of where it was pre the release. Oil back at $59 doesn't do a lot, but still dollar CAD moving to the top side despite those numbers. And that's not, to me, that's not normal at all. Looking at the other major currency pairs, okay, the Aussie, as I said, short-term downtrend. We had some stronger Chinese numbers Friday. Then you have the weaker US numbers. It's slowly picking itself up off the floor. It's got some challenges coming ahead with the all the fires, slowing down economic growth, etc. I can't see it going too high just yet. But just bear in mind, go forward a couple of months, the money going back into the rebuild is going to be very good for economic growth and everything else on the Aussie. So I think short term, we might see it back down towards 68 cents. And then, you know what, the next 3 to 6 months, we could see pretty good economic growth coming through in the Aussie. So that changes the picture a bit. Kiwi just drifting lower, no major data out for the Kiwi. So it's just grinding to a bit of a halt as it comes towards support. You got support and resistance there on the Kiwi. Now, this safe haven trade on the back of that US-Iran sort of tussle, it's sort of been unwound. There's the initial part of it. Then you see, as everything was sort of unwinding, now it's just trading sideways. No one really knows which way to play that. So once again, there's no real momentum there. We had that initial sort of dip down through 111.20 on euro. No follow through of any sort of significance. Once again, you think those non-farm payrolls would have a bigger impact, but it's pretty slight. We're just below that previous support level, so not a hell of a lot there. Same with sterling there as well, and I've already sort of run through dollar CAD. So what we've got is we've got markets that are pretty average to be trading at the moment. Okay, this is the setup, and you need to be able to recognize when we've got good market conditions and when we've got average market conditions. Okay, this is one of the key things that you need to be able to identify, and that'll stop you getting in trouble trading when you shouldn't be. So make sure you factor that into your opportunities. Now, also Monday, the Asian session, it's a Japanese holiday, so don't expect a lot of movement in the Asian session. And then as you come into the European session, you've got the UK GDP numbers. Once again, we're getting close to that January 31st Brexit for the UK. Maybe the GDP numbers impact. I don't think the market will be looking too closely at them, but keep an eye out for that. And then you also got the Bank of Canada Business Outlook Survey. So dollar CAD to me is completely neutralized with the US-Iran issue, oil moving back under $60. It sort of counters all the fundamentals. So dollar CAD, the loonie, really living up to its name at the moment. For me, Monday, I've just spent the time going through my technicals, and this is the structure that I've got. So no significant, strong buy or sells at this point. Dollar CAD and dollar Swiss. I know short term on the hourlies they've been moving up, but still on the daily and weekly charts they have still broken down. So you know what? To me, they're just coming back to levels to potentially sell. We'll have to see how that plays out. And with no major follow through here on, say, the euro and sterling, the bigger part of that US dollar index, we haven't got really a hell of a lot to sort of work with just at the moment. It is Monday. Take your time. Wait for the opportunities to build. There's plenty of data out this week. Lots of there's CPI, PPI across the board, especially those US CPI numbers Tuesday. Okay, it's great. This is a great opportunity. When we get US CPI numbers out on Tuesday, it can potentially give us direction for the US dollar all week. To me, it's very much worth waiting for that number to see if we do get some variance and if we do get some direction there. That US-Iran issue seems to be sort of, really stalling at the moment. So, you know what? Another couple of days, nothing happens, that could be over. And just looking at the overall news, the overall sentiment here, US-China, looks like they're going to get that trade deal done. That's a good thing for us. Obviously, a bit of backlash in Iran over the so-called lies about or reporting about who's downing planes and who's doing what. But keep an eye on that. This US-China trade deal, I'd love to see it done before I put all my eggs in that basket. You'd think Donald would try and unsettle things, but we haven't seen anything from the Donald at this stage. So that's where we are. All right, guys, that's pretty much a bit of a wrap for Monday. Not a hell of a lot to really jump into, as I said. Keep an eye on the technical side. Keep an eye on the data. And let's piece it all together. Have a good week, guys. Cheerio.